Hello everyone, we have been honored with Mr. James Sinclair with us here today. He is a mega entrepreneur he's the man that manages over 1,000 staff. A person like me manages 7-8 staff and we don't get time to breathe. So he manages over 1,000 staff. He's got many businesses, turnover over 20 million, probably wages over 750,000 a month. A mega entrepreneur for sure, and he's super keen into commercial property as well. So it'd be quite interesting to pick his brain, so stay tuned. James, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Really pleasure. You started from nothing and have really achieved quite something, one would say. And there are a lot of people who work super hard, 1,800 hours a week, and not many achieve
1,800 hours a week?
80 to 100 hours a week.
Oh, right.
And they don't achieve the level of success that you have. So what have you done differently?
I think people doing the wrong stuff. You can put a lot of work into something and it doesn't necessarily mean it's the correct model and it doesn't have the right fundamentals for profitability around it. And so I've learned over the years to make sure that I'm focusing on high value tasks, using my hours to do mainly income generating tasks, leverage tasks rather than repeatable tasks. So a lot of people in business are running the operations of their business and that doesn't give them any time to focus on the revenue generating tasks. And I focus nearly all of my time on revenue generating, like this podcast. You know, it's leverage work. I do the work once and people will listen to it in 10 years time. And so and listen to it potentially 1 million times, and I want to be focusing on doing tasks like that.
But surely when you started off when you were 16, that's not what you started off doing, did you?
You know, I was swapping time for money in the beginning, yeah, like what most business owners did, but you know, from the age of 17 I had a secretary.
Yeah.
So I sacrificed some of my own income to start building a team. A lot of people just don't want to employ people and build teams, and I think you have to do that if you want to build something that's a commercially profitable enterprise that works without you in it eventually.
So what got you to transition into that idea that you're going to spend time into these kind of things, that leverage?
I suppose my mindset was just, you know, I read books from a very young age. I read Richard Branson's book probably when I was 16, and he's, a big philosophy of his is build a team.
So do you have entrepreneurship like in your blood, like in family maybe?
Not particularly, no. It's just I built a children's entertainment agency. That was my first business. I left home quite young and I had to build it up. So I just went out there and did it.
Okay, because I think you don't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur now. I think it's going to be in maybe the blood maybe, or as a child maybe, that they're growing up, they just know that's what they want to do.
That was definitely, I was always struck by business and building companies. You know, I wanted to do that. So that was in me from the beginning, I would say, yeah.
Well, who taught you what things to go through? Because surely you are quite successful now. And starting off...
I had lots of mentors, you know, but not one mentor or one person, but, you know, books and, I constantly read. I tried to find books by people that had been there, seen it and done it. You know, so like a Richard Branson, he'd done it, he'd built a business. So I devoured that book, you know, early on in the Dragon's Den days, you know, it's a 20-year-old program. So if there was any books by the Dragons, I'd read it. I quickly realised that marketing was so important. So I would spend a lot of my time on getting customers and focusing my energies in that sphere of business. And that served me well. And I enjoyed doing all of that stuff. So, yeah.
Did you have a mentor from the time you got started?
No, I suppose my mentors were books, and if I came across successful business owners, I would ask them how they did it, what they'd done, but never one particular person. You know, it was, and even now, you know, I listen to business podcasts and pick up little bits and bobs about what people are doing, and I invest in my brain still now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm literally listening to 6 or 7 podcasts a week.
Right. So it's literally just been books, podcasts, not a single person that you would say, here's my mentor? And
No. But lots of people have fed my brain over the years, but never a paid for mentor or one particular mentor.
do you think that has been the key to your success?
No. I think the key to my success is doing. I actually get out there and do some stuff.
So you must have failed 1,000 times in many other projects to see the success.
I've had some failures. Yeah, no, I have had some. I set up a stretch limousine company. That was a failure. I had a couple of chain of party shops. That was a failure. But those things have given me feedback on what's a better business to build. So now I like businesses that are a good model. This is something I'm talking about a lot at the moment. Finding a business with a great model can set you up for profitability. So a great model for me is a business that you can control or has low overheads, volume in the sector that you operate in, that there is a hungry audience, a volume of people that want to buy from you right now. You don't have to try and convince them. You don't have to try and, like electric cars, 15 years ago, you have to say, look, this is going to be brilliant, and try and convince them to do it while you wait for the market to realise that this is a volume-based business. If you're a startup, a beginning entrepreneur, you want to go to where the hungry audience is that wants to buy right now and go for, there is a big volume of them. Next, you want to make sure that you choose a business where you can, volume, good model, control the overheads, and margin. You want to make sure there's good margin in it. So a lot of people start businesses and their competition in reality is supermarkets and Amazon. If you're an SME business entrepreneur turning up to £50 million, you want to go where there's margin. Volume, margin, and control the overheads. Make sure you can do that. And that's a good model. And if I could add a little bit to it, is the rule of 4. When people can buy from you 4 times in quick succession, they create habit and they want to buy from you again and again. It's why I like childcare. You go on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you get to know the staff, you're building rapport, there's trust there. And if you can find those types of businesses, then you're really off to the races.
Right. Do you offer mentorship if somebody was looking to start and needed someone to guide?
Yeah, for free. Just go on my YouTube channel, listen to my podcasts, all for free.
Amazing. Right, I wanted to talk to you about something that you speak quite a lot about. A person who first starts off is a solopreneur, jumps on to being an entrepreneur, and then that's the last stage when you turn to be an investorpreneur.
Yeah.
Right? Now, you start off as a solopreneur, you're working alone. You start building a team, you're an entrepreneur. And then you spoke about that shift, that transition, that you've built a team now, where you transition into being an investorpreneur. So you're kind of handing over the business to a different person to look after.
Yeah.
So are you allowing them to become a director and control your business?
That should always be the plan, to build a business that works without you in it. I mean, what you're trying to do is build an investment. And why do people, when they like buying property, they buy a property and they know that every month they're going to get a return in the form of rent? Well, actually, you want to try and build your business to be in such a way it's like a property that you build it, you do the deal, you get a team in place, and it just pays you the shareholders' dividends on a very regular basis. And that is why people want to invest in Google and Disney and Facebook and stuff like that, because it's so predictable what they can do. They've been around for a long time, so it's actually that predictability, and that's how investors think. And so what I talk about with my philosophy of solopreneur, entrepreneur, investorpreneur is that the philosophy is if you're an investor, you might get 5-6% returns and it's very predictable. Whereas an entrepreneur, when they get it right, they can make 100% returns, 300% returns, 20% returns. So when entrepreneurs get it right, they really get it right. But most of them fail. Only 5% make it past 10 years of trading. So what I do is I say, look, you want to get that entrepreneurial flair, that drive, that innovation, that's great. But if we can put the two together with an investor mindset and you fuse them together, you have the investorpreneur. So the investor cleverness with the entrepreneurial go-gettingness, and you put them together, that's what I sort of talk about entrepreneurs being more successful.
So that structuring, where you transitioning from an entrepreneur to an investorpreneur, How do you generally structure? Do you give profit sharing on the end, or is it just salary based, director salary? How do you see it?
Some and some depends on our industry that we're in, but I want to reward our good people by offering them promotion within our business to go and run parts of our business, if we sold part of our business, the people that have been with us a long time would get rewarded, especially if they're innovation people within our organisation.
So what worries me, and maybe a lot of entrepreneurs out there, is that if you've spent 5 years trying to build something, so you've been the manager of the business while building it, this philosophy you speak about 80%, 20%, where we're spending 20% of the time trying to grow the business, 80% running it. When we want to make that transition, right, that worry of trying to hand over that business to another person, a director, because it can burn you to the ground if they don't know what they're doing and if you choose the wrong person.
If you don't do it straight away, I mean, I didn't do that straight away. You work with them, in unison for a number of years, and you build up trust and rapport. I'm 37, but I've had, people work with me since I was 18, 19. They're still there, so I've got trust and rapport with them, and they with me.
So, how many years would you advise would be safe enough to work with the director before you hand over?
I can't give that.
A couple of years, would you say, or a couple of months?
No, it depends on what you feel is right at the time, and sometimes you're going to make mistakes. I always say you have to kiss a few frogs to find your prince or your princess at times, and it's different. You get, your gut instinct gets better with age, and sometimes you get it wrong, and if you get it wrong, you dive in and sort it out. I still make mistakes.
Yeah. But I just to talk a bit about my experience, I run a property agency, management company, and sales, lettings and sales, and a development business. So we refurbish properties or buy land and develop properties. But before I got into refurbishment and developments, I had a business having a contract with the local council where we housed the homeless in Birmingham. And I was trying to do that transition at the time, having 8-9 staff, get a manager in place, hopefully make them a director and lead on, right? But I think my mistake was at the time is that I did not spend years with them to hand the business over. It was just a couple of months.
You've got to train them.
And they drowned the business, and I lost everything, lost all the profits, all the investment, bust. Yeah. That company did.
Was you producing monthly profit and loss?
Yeah, we were. But I think
they was not indicating to you that something was going wrong.
I think the model in that business is that Birmingham City Council wasn't just paying us out every month. Sometimes that withhold payments and pay us after 5 months. So that business on its own had cash flow problems. But I think the issue was I had traveled, and there was an issue. There was a gang fight in a large property we had of 14 bedrooms, and because of the gang fight, the councillors and inspectors got involved. And apparently the manager was not doing the inspection.
I mean, let me be absolutely clear. I don't completely diverse myself away from each one of our, but I'm still heavily involved in them all. But I let them run the day-to-day. I still have board meetings each month. I'm still visually seeing what they're up to. So I'm not just disappearing. I'm still MD or CEO of the business, and I meet with them regularly. And, I mean, what's happening there is, if you've started a business, it's like having children. So that business that you spoke about in Birmingham, how old was it when you started putting a director in place, the actual business?
How long was the business?
How old? How many years has it been trading?
2.5.
So that's a 2.5-year-old. So my business is a 20-year-old, starting to stand on its own 2 feet, starting to think for itself. If I've got a 2.5-year-old, like Teletastic is a 6 or 7-year-old business, one of my companies, it's a 6 or 7-year-old. It can go to school on its own now, but I've still got to pick it up and drop it off in the morning, make sure it goes to bed. I've still got to give it a cuddle. When it gets to 11, maybe it can walk home on its own. Maybe the business can do a bit more on its own. You can't just expect a business to be all on its own after 2.5 years. That's like leaving a 2.5-year-old and just hoping that a nanny can look after it as good as you. You just got to be able to invest in great management and know what great management is. And it takes time.
It does take time. I think that's what my error was. So if you having so many staff as you do, and I think you've just mentioned that you are involved, I'm quite certain now that you don't micromanage. Do you?
No, but I believe in micromanagement. I don't micromanage people, but if you go to McDonald's or a franchise business, they're micromanaged. I mean, you don't have to micromanage a heart surgeon, but he's had university and training that is micromanaged, because you don't want him to muck it up.
Yeah.
And so it depends on the sector and the team. But if you've got a hospitality and leisure service-led business, you want to make sure there is vigorous training involved. You don't want it mucked up. But if you find someone that's smart, that's had really good training, they don't need micromanage. You don't need to micromanage an accountant or a solicitor, because they've been trained so well, they know it inside and out.
So when you hand over a task to somebody, do you make a note of it somewhere to go and follow up if they've done it?
I try and no, because I would want them to. I might get my PA to follow up to see if they've done it, but most of my team are better and more organised than me, so it's probably they're chasing me up to see if I've done it.
Right. Because I'm just trying to digest this idea of having a thousand staff, because I'm not there yet, far off. So how it would just work? Do you put structures in place?
We have weekly meetings, especially when we buy a new company or start a new company. I'm heavily involved, probably for the first 3 or 4 years, and then I'll start moving away from it, and it can stand on its own 2 feet once I'm confident in the management team.
So I followed Brandon Dawson's work, and he speaks of a structure of 3. So you've got 3 people underneath you, under each person you've got other 3 people, and so forth. That's how the chain goes. So you're really managing just the 3 of them. Is that something that you'd agree with, or do you have a different?
Yeah, I manage probably 3 people, or 3 people I work with closely at the moment. Paul, Janky, and Leah. Yeah, 3 or 4 people I'm directly involved with day to day, and then they all have their teams underneath.
Right. So I want to talk a bit about the accounts perspective, because I think accounts will be the heart of the business. If I know what the transactions in and out are for, I kind of know the business. So you having so many different businesses and turnover of, let's say, 30 million, that's a lot of transactions. What do you do? What's your method there?
In terms of what?
How you monitor your transactions? Do you make the payments?
Yes, we have. No. I don't make the payments. I approve anything that's unusual, but we have 4 accounts people that work for us, and we have an in-house accountant, qualified. I do all the budgets and what I want us to bring in, and I work on gross profits. I delve into the management accounts. Producing monthly accounts, I think, is one of the fastest ways a business can be more profitable. If you're relying on annual or quarterly accounts, you're not going to make as much money as someone that's producing monthly accounts, because you can drill into the detail far more reactively. And I know that other people do them weekly, and that's even smarter in my opinion. But yeah, I have a great team that are over the numbers all the time.
So is there someone else that makes payments?
Yeah, there's 4 people in our accounts team.
They make the payments.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think over the last 2 days, £250,000 has left our bank account on just day-to-day running costs.
Do you know the exact reason for every transaction?
More or less, yeah, because we have very regular suppliers, and what we always try and do as a business is, once something becomes of a certain size of spend, we would look to start that business ourselves.
Okay, so say just an ordinary, let's say a barber shop, or say an estate agency having 400 transactions, 500 transactions a month. For me personally, I need to know, I make the payments. In other circumstances, the accounts person is allowed to make payments, but I grant the OTP, so I know what the transaction is for. Is there a similar kind of structure there, or is that kind of trust there involved?
Yeah, because some of these people have worked for me for a long time, and so they would send, can you approve these payments? And I just say approved or not approved. Or a lot of it comes out on direct debit and standing orders. I couldn't manage every single one, but I do go through and look at all of our expenses all the time.
So skimming through the transactions to see anything that's unordinary.
Yeah, like yesterday I noticed a supplier we spent 11.5 grand with, and I questioned why we'd spent that much, and that would be delved into. But we're starting to spend a lot of money with them, so we'd probably bring that service in-house. So one of the reasons we bought Rossi, which is our ice cream company, we're spending £250,000 a year on ice cream and slush and coffee, and we thought, right, we'll buy that company and funnel all of that spend through there, and then we sell it to other people. So it's a great way of us growing another business, but using our volume to get it going. We spend £1.5 million a year on food and drink. We're going to put that into Rossi. So we grow Rossi by 1.5 million turnover, not profit. But that then allows us to sell all that food and drink to other people. And keep the profit and the cash flow within our group.
So what are your responsibilities then as the CEO of all these businesses?
Make sure my senior team are happy. Make sure we're focusing on innovation, marketing and culture, and look to buy other companies that fold into our existing empire.
So would you say you have a lot of free time sometimes, or are you busy 100 hour work weeks, no time at all?
I am busy. Yeah, I just float around from meeting to meeting and see people. I mean, I'm not in service. Is that what you mean? Yeah, I'm not managing people. Yeah, I'm not rotoring. I'm not doing job interviews. I'm not, hiring, firing, HRing and doing systems and processes. There's teams involved. I spend most of my time on how can we get more customers.
I think that's the dream of every entrepreneur then, isn't it?
They could have that if they wanted to. It's what the reason most people don't do it is because they're not prepared to sacrifice the personal income to pay others for a number of years. And if you look at any super successful entrepreneur, that's what they've done. Rather than paying themselves, they've invested cash into a team. And for many years, people were earning money rather than me. And when I start a business like Rossi, it was a loss-making company when we bought it. Everyone's getting paid but me, and quite the opposite. I'm also putting money in, giving personal guarantees and signing up to finance to sort the bloody thing out. But, in 10 years' time, it'll be worth a lot of money. And, when I eat last, I probably eat better than most people.
That's true. What's your vision then?
For us, we want to build a business that our team just feel fantastic being part of. We want to continue to build brands that families love. We want to be super profitable. We want to own lots of commercial property so that we're strong and stable and we don't have to answer to anyone. We want to stay privately owned and independent. We don't want private equity and venture capitalists and multiple horrible shareholders telling us what to do, and that will hamper our growth a little bit. And personally, over the next few years, I want to build it up to £100 million turnover company that makes 10-15 million of EBITDA per year.
Why not be on the stock market raising funds?
I just don't want to answer to anyone.
Yeah,
that's the answer.
But I heard you say you have a structure for all your companies. You've got the first one, who you are, who pays the bills. Second one, third one, and the fourth one being real estate. So with having different companies, do you have a management team that manages all the other businesses?
Yeah, each team, we put a management team in place, and my job is to make sure they're as effective as possible, and if they're not, I need to change it.
Okay. I want to talk a bit about social media, because you did mention that third company, the media marketing, and you believe quite a lot into it. You try to get the warm leads and feed it onto the operational companies.
Yeah, that's right.
But I also heard you say once that it's taken you quite a long time to break through social media. You've got 4 people on your team.
No, on my personal brand, on the James Sinclair brand, I've wrote books, I've done 300-ish podcasts, 750 YouTube videos, countless Instagram stories and posts. I've been on loads of stuff like this, and whilst we do get traction, it is one of the hardest things that I've done, mainly because I don't think we won't lie to people. We don't do get rich quick schemes and personal development-y stuff. We're good, hard, honest business advice, and we want to share that message to the world. But that has been harder than I first thought. I thought, we'll just get this content out there and we'll have, 1 million YouTube subscribers and all of that. And don't get me wrong, the traction that we're building now is fantastic. We're getting some really good viewing numbers and the subscribers are going up all the time, and the podcast continues to do better and better, but it's not easy.
So do you get warm leads through your personal brand to feed into your other companies?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to tell you, so yesterday, someone contacted Rossi that watches me, that is a coffee importer and has got a big coffee roaster and wants to do a JV with us. There's an ice cream chain of ice cream shops in Wales. The owner's son watches me and said, look, can you quote for the ice cream? We've bought businesses on the back of my YouTube channel. We've recruited people on the back of my YouTube channel. We've sold all tickets to my seminars with no ad spend on the back of my YouTube channel. I mean, we've got a big seminar that I run in September called Business Masterclass. I think we got like 25 grand's worth of tickets already in the bag. And we're not... Have you? I look forward to seeing you there, and so that is what personal brand does. But it helps everything. When people want to find out about me, if we're going to do a particular deal, they can go on the internet and research me, and that helps.
How long did it take since you started till you actually even got your first conversion or first customer?
No, straight away we were getting conversions, just not in the... Well, when I say straight away, within a few months, it's just not to the volume that we're getting now. Every quarter we go into making content, the current quarter literally feels like it does impact-wise the same as the last 5 years in 3 months.
Right.
I don't see that sort of happening forever, but I do think quarter by quarter by quarter we're going to see, hockey stick growth. And once we get, when we get to maybe 300,000 YouTube subscribers, the impact from 300,000 to 1 million will probably be slower than the first 300,000. Does that make sense? Once more, but at the moment, every quarter seems to be better than the last, all of them. Yeah.
So I've had a few conversations with a lot of other entrepreneurs who are trying to do the same, building a personal brand to feed the leads and see how many other people they could do business with. Yeah. Personally, been doing it for over a year, but I've not had a single lead or a single customer through my personal brand, at least directly of what I know of.
Maybe are you too broad?
It's just all property related and business related.
Yeah, but that's two things straight away, isn't it? And if it's property in the general, that can be difficult.
95% is property. Just when I meet business entrepreneurs like yourself, then I want to pick their brains a little bit.
People that I see that do really well on building content marketing audiences start with a really good niche. For example, if we move it away from business, if you're creating a parenting blog, just do it around autism or ADHD kids or something like that. Super niche, and then you can broaden out over time. It's very hard to, I think, just say we've created the property podcast, because there's people very established that have big audiences. So maybe you create the serviced accommodation podcast or the HMO podcast or the commercial conversions podcast. You build the audience, then you broaden up.
I think that's what it is.
I always remember this. Amazon only sold books in 1994. Yeah. They become this behemoth over 3 decades. They didn't go broad at the beginning. They were niche and then broadened up. And I think that there's a big lesson there for entrepreneurs and business owners, because especially the algorithms, they like to hang their hat on what you are. And I think that's probably one of our biggest downfalls. If we'd have just gone property 5 years ago, and Chud's, who makes all my content with me, we always speak about this. If we just done property 5 years ago and just focused solely on property, we would be massive. I just know it. But we decided to do a bit of property, bit of marketing, bit of business, buying companies. So we are in the sphere very broad around the entrepreneurship space. Yeah. If we'd have just focused on marketing, but not just marketing, focused on writing a book about marketing or just Facebook ads, and we made 700 videos just on how to do Facebook ads really well for your business, that would have been really easy for the algorithms to pinpoint down. Plus, most people are useless with their thumbnails and their, all of that stuff, and knowing. We were rubbish in the beginning. We only can do that now. We've been at it quite hard for 5 years making content, and I actually cringe at the stuff we did now in the first year and year and a half, but not because of the quality of the editing, but the story structure and knowing what gets people hooked. Our what we named a video, what we the thumbnails that we put on a video that make people click. You know, it's like we forgot marketing and just got obsessed with making the, you know, entertaining content rather than solving people's pain and trying to build relationships with the audience. All this stuff's important, but it's really secondary to getting clicks and interactions on a very, very competitive marketplace.
Do you sponsor ads to promote you?
No, we have never, ever. I think we might have tried 3 years ago very briefly, but you know, we don't market it through, you know, watch our videos and we pay Google or Facebook or YouTube a load of money to get those watched. And we've flirted with the idea many times, but we don't think that we wouldn't get the quality of the audience. And YouTube, if you're making really good content on YouTube, and Chud's and I know this to be true, if you're making really good content that people want to watch and are watching for a long time, YouTube will make it the most watched thing ever.
Right. I've watched a lot of your videos. You speak a lot about marketing, and you do feel that that is a key ingredient to your success. Do you feel marketing, Google ads, Facebook ads has always delivered?
Depends. Absolutely depends on the sector. If I was, I mean, we spend thousands of pounds a year on Amazon PPC for the products we sell on Amazon. You know, to promote our visitor attractions, our zoos and our day nurseries, we spend money on Google PPC and Facebook ads to get leads and inquiries for our day nursery. So yeah, I do believe it works.
Because there was one video of yours I watched. You spent 25,000 in Google ads, but you got 35,000 worth of revenue, and you made a loss because of the product cost, the manufacturing cost. So it kind of didn't work. So is that what you're saying? It works for some businesses, not for?
Yeah, I mean, I think when Google PPC, in my opinion, if we're just focusing on Google PPC here, if you can afford to take a loss because people are going to repeat buy from you, then that might. So, for example, our day nurseries, if it costs us £100 in Google PPC to get a good lead and they convert to a customer, but over their lifetime they spend £48,000 with you, with childcare fees, that's fine. But if you spend £100 and they're only going to spend £150 with you, and it's a one-off product,
yeah,
I don't know, like a clothes or something they need for holiday, or you know, a teddy bear, or that's what we would have been doing in that scenario you just spoke about. They don't need to buy a teddy bear next month and the month after that, and that can be difficult.
Right. I want to jump into property now because I know you're a commercial property guy. So you like commercial property, commercial only you focus on. Why is that for now?
No, I started on residential property and we still hold some residential property, but the tax changes on residential property make it less attractive. When you look at commercial property, it is so much better in so many ways, especially if you can tie it to your trading business. So this building that we're recording this in, we own, we take a rent from it, and the rent is paid by our trading company. That to me is the fastest way to build significant wealth for an individual and also protect your company along the way. If, however, that isn't a situation you can get yourself into because you don't own a trading business, I still think commercial property investment is better than buy-to-let property investment for a number of reasons. Lower stamp duty, capital allowances, which you cannot get on residential property unless possibly serviced accommodation. Lower stamp duty, I think I said that. The tax advantages of commercial property are just amazing, and if you speak to your accountant you can invest it through your pensions and stuff like that. The capital growth I have found much better on commercial property through personal experience. Although I've had good capital growth on my residential property, what I've done in commercial is just far outstrips it.
I do agree with you partially. We manage maybe about 350, 400 tenants. So I've seen what buy-to-lets, how it can backfire, because essentially the landlord's main source of income is dependent on that one person. So if that person loses their job, then how is the landlord going to make his bills, pay his mortgage payment? So it can become very distasteful, or quite discouraging for landlords with that kind of property. So I personally believe in blocks of flats or HMOs only. Now, when it comes to commercial, I stay away from it because we manage commercial as well. We manage about 16 warehouses, 30 offices. But with residential, we're always 100% occupied. With commercial, there'll be so many times 6 months void period, 3 months void period.
Maybe you're in the wrong areas then.
No, prime location as well, city centre type locations. At the moment, we have
What
six
sort of
offices in
commercial? Yeah, I don't buy offices. I talk about warehouses. That's what, good warehouse stock. If you're in the right locations, you'll always be full. You can't buy a warehouse or even rent a warehouse in Essex of 10,000 square feet at the moment. They're just not available.
What about retail units?
Nope, I don't have any of them.
Right, okay. But same with warehouses or places like that, when the market turns, the first ones to get hit will be commercial. People will always need a roof over their head.
I think people always need warehouses and distribution.
But don't you think when market turns, the first one to be hit will be commercial?
Maybe, but not in my experience.
You don't like HMOs, do you?
What? No, I don't really like them, no.
Why not?
Why don't I like them? It's just a bit bitty. If you get a commercial warehouse and you rent it to someone on a 10-year FRI lease, you don't have to worry about it. You just buy the property, you just carry on. But really, my philosophy is commercial property attached to a trading business. So say I was a dentist and I wanted to open 10 dental practices, and you have 10 properties that operates out of, that all day long just will be better than HMOs, serviced accommodation and stuff from blocks of flats. Now, I bought a block of flats a couple of years ago and I still got it. Yeah, it's okay, it's great, yeah, it's fine, but it's not like owning warehouses and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I've got both.
Okay. Because with blocks of flats, we don't try to acquire blocks of flats which are already income generating. We try to acquire rundown blocks of flats. So the one we were just speaking of camera, the one in Liverpool, that's a block of 9 flats. Once it's all done up, just cash on cash, it's going to give like 15%. So we're going to put in a mortgage and pull out all the funds we initially invested. And it's kind of a free building sitting on 35% loan to value. And we just move on to the next one. So blocks of flats, that's what you ideally look for.
The tax changes on that. And so let me give you you don't get capital allowances on that. And capital allowances basically can turn into hundreds of thousands of pounds when you buy a commercial property. You don't get that. You pay a much higher stamp duty in that scenario, much lower stamp duty on commercial property. If you have a commercial property and it's got a trading business in, and you die, and the trading business and the commercial property are owned in the same entity, your family can take that on inheritance tax free. They ain't doing that on residential property. That's just some of the reasons why commercial property is so much better.
Yeah, but with stamp duty, with blocks of flats, you get multi-dwelling relief. Yeah. Or if it's a derelict block, you pay commercial rates. So there are kind of loopholes around it as well.
But only the commercial property is the teeny weeny one. You don't get capital allowances and it's not IHT free.
Right. But I just felt that with residential, with the shortage of housing, especially in the UK,
there's a shortage of commercial property in the southeast, which I operate in. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind residential property. I have residential property more than most probably. I just don't think it's as good as a trading business in a commercial property.
Right. Well, interesting. But you do look for any properties you acquire, you want to have value add, isn't it? You want to add value. Yeah. So how do you manage that? Is that refurbishments or developments, or What kind of value add do you look for?
If I can get a higher rent, that would be, if I feel it's under rented, that would be good. If there's a stamp duty saving, so I bought a block of flats and we only paid £500 stamp duty because we managed to buy the company that was operating off paid off all the debt. So that was, those sorts of things. I'm looking for that. If I can buy a commercial property and shop it all up and put multiple tenants in there, like a HMO, but in the commercial world, I like that. That's very de-risking as well. If there's a bit of land on the side that you can sell off or put more units, I bought an industrial estate and we've got permission to put 22 more units on there. That sort of value add. Yeah, I always look for that.
So do you have a property management team as well?
Yeah. Looking at him, baby. Me and my PA look after all of it. Yeah.
Okay. But as you grow that, are you looking to build your own team?
What I don't really like doing is property development. I get how people can make money from it, but for me, again, trading businesses is where all the money is.
Why not developments?
I just think my time is better spent on running a business. It's so much more tax efficient. You sell a trading business, the capital gains tax is way lower than selling a property that you've improved.
Do you joint venture with people?
No, I always do everything on my own.
How do you source your deals?
People will just ring me up all the time and offer me stuff. I go and see stuff. I'm very proactive in looking at stuff and going and seeing stuff. But I find stuff on the internet. I look all the time as well.
So I can tell you're a long-term guy. You envision the future. So when it comes to debt, what kind of debt ratio do you play with?
I love debt. I love borrowing money.
Do you go all out to 75-25, 50-50?
I borrow as much as I can all the time, as long as it's, affordable. And I think that's the other thing, when you've got trading businesses around you, it's so much easier to borrow money and then do property on steroids.
Yeah. So you'd go all out to whatever they would lend you, as long as you can afford it.
No, if the deal needed a certain amount, then yeah, I'll get involved.
Because if I was looking to build a massive portfolio, which I am, it would concern me to go up to 75-25 in case there was a massive downturn, which it was perhaps like in 2008. Because I don't want the banks knocking on my door. Yeah. So would you say you were wary of that as well?
But, because you're in residential property, aren't you? Yeah, that's not fair. Yeah, I can't comment on that. I want to buy trading businesses that I can market. If things get tough, then you just up the marketing to bring more cash flow in. But, the only thing you can do with residential property is try and get the rents up, but that's market led to a certain degree. So I'm not worried about all my businesses are a little bit of money from a lot of people a lot of the time. Every day, 100,000 to £500,000 comes in every day. The worst that we would have is 35 grand in a single day hit our bank account. And it does swing from 35 to £500,000. Some days we get those big days where we're getting money and, the government fund our day nursery business. We have rents, we have memberships, we have ticket sales, we have ice cream sales. And so we have all these cash coming in. So I don't panic about that much because we have so many customers.
Right, amazing.
But if it was just residential property, I was telling people about interest rates going up 6 years ago and sort of fell on deaf's ears. And, I said, look, it's happening, baby. And, people are now really have got portfolios where they're making no cash flow because they're just servicing higher interest rates. And, oh my God, it's so high. Well, actually, it's still low if you look at it on a 300-year average.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's true. Do you think
but
it would ever go back?
You can weather storms so much more if you have a trading business.
So you business first, get the money off there, funnel into property.
You should always be business first, property second.
Yeah.
You should build a property portfolio off the back of a commercially profitable trading business that's generating good profits. So if your portfolio is not doing so well because of interest rates, the business helps them. When things are really good, you leverage, in my opinion, the property to go and buy other trading businesses. I just think it's such
That
a better way
sounds
around.
bulletproof. It could work. It works. It can
It's not
weather the
my
storm.
idea. It's, you know, people have been doing this for years. Disney have been doing it for years. Warren Buffett's been doing it for years. You look at Warren Buffett's portfolio, that is, to me, a little bit of money from a lot of people a lot of the time.
Do you think interest rates would ever go back to what you just said? 1990s, 1967, that kind of rates?
Who knows? I think we can have one more rise and then they'll start coming down a little bit, but I don't think they'll be at 0%. But who knows? You just don't know, do you? Can't guess that stuff.
Yeah.
All I just look on things that I can be certain of, and being certain on having trading businesses that generate cash flow is how you can weather those storms.
Absolutely. So James, if there's someone watching, an entrepreneur, what's the one final piece of advice? You've given loads, but what would be the final one you'd give to someone watching this now?
Well, if this is a property podcast, if you want to do property in a big way, make sure you got a trading business around you so that you can do property on steroids.
Absolutely. Well, James, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us here today.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.